Let's fight. Very good evening to each and every one of you, and welcome in the ring. It's another day, another program, lots of information to share with you. Tag a friend, retweet, reshare, subscribe. To all the folks who are joining us on YouTube, a very good evening. You're joining us on Facebook. A very good evening to you. You're joining us on um, Twitter. A very good evening to each and every one of you guys. We really hope that you had a great day, and we have so much to share with you this evening. So very much to share with you. So let's get going very quickly. I don't want to waste time, but we're going to wait on a couple of folks and we're going to get going. Quite a few things to discuss with you this evening, guys. Quite a few things to discuss with each and every one of you. Share on Facebook as you come on. Give us a retweet on Twitter. Um, we value you guys a whole lot, and we are ready to go this evening. Quite a program in store for you. Quite a program. We got quite a few things to talk about, of which the gender-based violence is one of them. We don't like what's happening to our women at all. And also, we're going to talk a little bit about the Guyana Police Force and some stuff that we've observed that is of recent vintage. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, but quite a few things that we are going to be discussing this evening. Quite a few things to discuss. Quite a few things, guys. So welcome again. Let's fight. Those of you who are in the ring, those of you joining us on Twitter, on Facebook, you guys, you know what you got to do. We got some good shares last evening. We want nothing less this evening. I stepped on the seawall this afternoon for a hot dog and a soda, and folks were saying, who in the ring? So I'm really, really heartened by all of the reception that we've been getting from you, the public. As we say, you make the program what it is. You make this program what it is. I couldn't take credit at all. When you guys show up, you make the difference. It is you guys showing up each and every night. I've got so many people talking about in the ring. And when you go and you discuss in your workplace what has been happening, you discuss in your homes, you discuss on the road with your friends what has been happening, you heard it in the ring. That helps us to get the message out. And so many persons reach out to us and share information. All of the information that I put out on my Facebook page and on social media in general comes from folks just like you who know that something is happening that is wrong in their workplace, in their communities, in the NDCs, in the RDCs, in the government, and share information with us. And since we've started here, and even when I was with, the other programs, for instance, the afternoon rush and so forth, all the information that has been shared with me has always been kept in the strictest confidence. In the strictest confidence. So any information that is shared with me, the person who shared it stays with me and me alone. The information goes out for public consumption in the public's interest, but the person who ever shared it with me stays with me and me alone. Don't even share it with the team where I got this information from. So I am very heartened to see so many of you and the response that In the Ring has been generating publicly. Thanks to you guys who come every night and make the program what it is. Thanks to each and every one. Guys, I'm ready to go this evening. So do what you guys need to do on your end. Give us a share on Facebook, share it back to your profiles. If you have a page, share it to your page. If there's a group that you're in, a Facebook group, share it to that group. And the folks who are on Twitter, give us a retweet. We'd love to see some comments from Twitter. I'd love to see some comments from YouTube as well. Nigel Anderson, good to see you. Yolanda and Bridget and Junie and Elaine Charles, all of the folks at home here in Guyana and also in the diaspora. I am tremendously privileged to have each and every one of you. Nigel, who is joining us from the British Virgin Islands. A very good evening and welcome. Give me a second, guys. Yep. A good evening to each and every one of you. Siobhan and Nadia A good night to you, Beverly. A good night to you, Orinthia. Good night to you, each and everyone. Rudy Hines and Marlon King and Michael Fraser. A very, very good evening to each and every one of you. Guys, I am ready to go. Onika de Jesus and Fitzbert, Jarek, a very good evening to you. Guys, do us the biggest favor we could ever ask of you. Share our live stream, retweet, um, give us a subscribe on YouTube. Give us your comments. I'd love to share some of the comments. So let me share a couple of them as we are coming on. Early as I'm waiting for us to hit that magic number, let me share some of these comments. Guys, help me out here. We have Candy, who is joining us from Georgia. A very good night to you, Candy, and Rose Chappelle, who is joining us as well. Good night to you, Rose. We also have Alison. Who is this? We also have Bridget Vigilance and Alison Ward and Sean Winter. Good night to each and every one of you. Because guys, I'm not just calling to make up names, and to pretend we have viewers. Good night to Kemrat Singh, who's watching from New York. A very good night to you. And Binka Peters, a very good night to you as well. The comments are running by so fast. Marlon Tony and all of you other folks, a very, very good evening to each and every one of you. I see Robin Noreen, who has joined us as well. Um, yeah, Robin Noreen, who has joined us. Good evening to you. Joe King, who is sending some greetings all the way from Toronto, Canada, with the Apnew AFC to the Apnew AFC family. Joe, you notice there, as soon as I see a comment, I had to put on my accent there. I'm from Toronto, Canada. A very good evening to each and every one of you folks. You guys make the program. You guys make the program what it is. And I'm tremendously, tremendously privileged that all of you can join us. Tremendously privileged that all of you can join us. So much information coming this evening. I almost said so many information. Bigly, the information is coming. So many of you joining us. And we are just about to hit that magic number. And guys, we are going to start. We are going to start. And we ain't holding back tonight. Quite a few things to discuss. We're coming at you guys, firing on all. This is not 6 cylinder. This is 10. All 10 cylinders we're firing on. Right? So we are fired up at our end, and we are ready to go, guys. You guys are looking so great on social media. And I'm ready to go. We're almost at that number we need to hit. And I wish when I hit that number, I fell into a big pool of water just for your viewing pleasure. And we're about to hit it in just a couple of seconds. Yep, and we hit it in being honest over 8 minutes 26 seconds. We are just where we need to go, guys. Let's get ready to rumble, and let's get down to the hot topics. We know you all love, you love yourself some hot topics, and we are coming on with a bit of breaking news this evening, but not in the traditional way that you might expect. Breaking news: the president apparently delivered a major speech on us celebrating 1 year after general and regional elections. And when I check on this just a few minutes ago on Department of Public Information page, which was 2 hours since this speech was made, it had 10 likes on it, 2 comments and 1 share. Well, it's been interesting to see how many persons viewed the president's primetime address to the nation. Everybody know Infant Ali is a puppet, and nobody has any time with him. I mean, this is the head of state generating in 2 hours, and this is on state media. The Department of Information is state media. In 2 hours, 10 likes, 2 comments, and 1 shame. My God. Some leaders would resign and go off into the sunset quietly. But here is Infant Ali delivering what he considers to be a major address to the nation, right? You see the theme of the address there. It is the address on the first anniversary of March 2nd general and regional elections. And 10 persons in 2 hours liked the video. 10 persons, 2 comments. One person found it interesting enough to share it. Unlike you guys who share our live stream hundreds of times, scores, hundreds of times. You guys share our live stream, and we are tremendously grateful for that. So, Infantali, good luck with that major primetime address that you had. Folks, as an example of how persistence pays off, last night we talked to you about the nurses and healthcare workers in Linden who were protesting over several days, who got out there. They did not sit down at home behind Facebook and criticize and talk about all who should be out there confronting this fraudulent PP government through their many agents, right? Through their many agents. They went out there themselves and got it done. The nurses and health workers in Linden, and we're happy to report that this bad boss, Mr. Rudy Small, who was the CEO of the Linden Hospital Complex, was removed today. Thanks to the efforts of the nurses and health workers who stood their grounds and said, we are moving. We are not moving. Right? So we are very, very, we say kudos to our nurses who went out and fought the good fight, stood their grounds, were persistent in their calls that he should be removed, and he was removed during the course of the day. So, folks, as we say, the lesson to take away from this, the moral of the story is you got to get off of social media sometimes and get down out there in the streets and do what you have to do. Let your voices be heard. If the nurses had stayed only on social media, right, small in name as in nature, would have still been the CEO of the Linden Hospital Complex. So kudos to our nurses this evening. Kudos for our nurses. And if you feel strongly about what our nurses have done, and positively so, give us a share. We want folks to be informed about what is happening. Folks, the former, I think was the General Secretary and Prime Ministerial candidate, the Prime Ministerial candidate for the Change Guyana initiative or party, wrote a scathing criticism of the government last evening on social media. Of course, he said several things, which I only going to pick out a few, talking about the ongoing, this is Mr. Nigel Hines, the ongoing and building onslaught of prosecutions, right? Persecutions and race prejudice discrimination. And this was published on, I picked this up on Guyana Standard during the course of the day. It was up since last evening, but a scathing criticism of government policy. Of course, Nigel Hines, like us, we agree on this particular issue. We have our political differences, but clearly we are seeing something totally different from what, for instance, Onij Waldron, said in the National Assembly, and also Hugh Todd. But we understand, like Jerry Govaya, like Leonard Schumann, like Ralph Ramkaran, they're all singing for their suppers. But Nigel Hines is not tethered to anybody, right? And not tethered to any party. He's speaking his mind freely. So he spoke about the economic racism that is happening in our country, the economic discrimination that is happening in our country. He talked about the extreme economic prejudice, and also especially considering that over 85% of poverty and capital in Guyana is controlled or flow to non-PNC supporters. Guys, you must read this for yourself. It's also on my Facebook page for those of you who want to take a little read of it after we would have concluded our show. So a scathing criticism of the PPP and what they have done. He went on to talk about small parties. He said the small parties seem to have gone into their into their shells, speechless. This is Nigel Hines, speechless against the discrimination rendered against supporters of the opposition. He also had quite a few things to say about journalists also. He said we have some journalists and commentators camouflaging their silence on racial policies now being executed in Guyana by writing extensively on other matters, especially oil and the wrongdoings of the previous administration, and blinding themselves to the present race-based actions of the current administration. Guys, by any measure, by any measure, this was not the praises that the PPM certainly wanted to hear on the day the president was going to give this major prime time address to the nation on the anniversary of the March 2nd general and regional elections. But there it is, and we say kudos to Nigel Hines for standing up for what is right, and perhaps this is perhaps one of the truest guardians of democracy, because he isn't afraid to speak his mind and let the administration know that what they're doing is utter nonsense. Is utter nonsense. And in that vein, and to prove Nigel Hines correct, we see the witch hunting by the PPP administration, folks, continues. The witch hunting by the PPC administration continues. And Village Voice is reporting this evening that the government confirms firing 42 Office of the President's staff under one program. 42 Office of the President's staff under one of its program. And I'm going to just read a paragraph of that article that we're picking up from Village Voice, and that reads, a total of 42 persons at the Office of the President who provided services in relation to the National Development Presidential Advisory Services were fired by the PPPC government when it took office. And this information came to light during the scrutiny of the national expenditures that is currently ongoing. The debates of the national budgets concluded yesterday, and now we go into the nitty-gritty of exactly what they're going to be spending taxpayers' money on. And that is how we uncovered that 42 Office of the President staff were fired from their jobs. And this is what Nigel Hines was talking about. This kind of discrimination and wanton firing with impunity, right? Professional public servants from the public sector. That is what Nigel Hines is talking about. But of course, O'Neill Waldron lives in a bubble, as well as Hugh Thad and Joe Hamilton. They're living in a PPP bubble, and they believe because they have high-paying jobs that is the situation for all Guyanese. But today, again, we learned that 42 Guyanese employed at the Office of the President were terminated. Yep, that's where we are. And folks, we're following up on this news story which we covered last evening of this Venezuelan woman who was, according to the news report, who was raped and sodomized and battered in the most brutal way. We are following up on this evening. Her injuries were extensive. And we learned during the course of the day, we picked up this information via Kaicho News, that a serial rapist allegedly has been fingered in this battery, rape, and brutality of this Venezuelan woman. His name is Thurston Semple, 36-year-old Thurston Semple, and he is from Tocqueville Terrace, Georgetown. And I did say he's a serial rapist, and Kaicho News pointed out that in 2018, he appeared before the chief magistrate, right, and McLennan, for allegedly tying up 2 sex workers on separate occasions and having sex with them without their consent. Also in January 2018, again, the 3rd of January, again, he's alleged to have assaulted another woman, right? So there's a lot of charges against this young man. It is said also that he allegedly would have molested a relative. This is Thurston Semple of Tocqueville. And also, residents in this news piece give details of the assault. Some say police are yet to take any statements. And what is so fascinating about this story, while I don't want to come down hard on his neighbors, the neighbors seem to say that it is regular for Mr. Semple, the alleged perpetrator, to take alleged victims to his home, and this will be followed by loud screams. This will be followed by loud screams. It is interesting to read this account. In addition to all of that, this alleged perpetrator, Mr. Semple, is also accused of escaping from lawful custody. Is also accused in 2017. He's also accused of escaping from lawful custody, right? And allegedly, this is the work of Mr. Semple, who is being described as a serial rapist. A serial rapist. This is a Venezuelan woman who alleged that Mr. Semple would have raped her, sodomized her, and beat her. She tried to escape from his unlawful detention of her by jumping through the window of his home. Right? But neighbors said, according to the report, he followed her in the yard. Both of them were naked, and he was beating her. He was beating her. Clearly, something is going on up here that is not right. Something is going up here that is not right. Something. Right? Now, I didn't see, like when the police went to retrieve the barber chase from Christopher Jones, any account that 70 police men swooped down on Mr. Semple, cordoned off his whole neighborhood, black out the neighborhood and all of that. I didn't see any account of that. Right? But something is wrong, because you have Mr. Semple is no stranger to the judicial system. Right? And there's a pattern of behavior. Something is wrong. That Mr. Semple is a taxi driver. And so my own plea is that if there are women out there who have suffered at the hands of Mr. Semple, right, I recommend, if you don't get in contact with me, Melissa Atwell, you know as Melly Mel, who deals with this area of battery and sexual violence, gender-based violence, and all of that, is a good person to get in touch with, because we need to get to the bottom of what has been transpiring here. If Mr. Semple is a taxi driver, it means that he's exposed to members of the public and exposed to a lot of women. And I would hazard a guess that there are more women who have suffered at the hands of Mr. Semple than that have come forward thus far. And so a lot of question leaves to be answered. How Mr. Semple, after committing all of this atrocity, known by the system, is a taxi driver. Is a taxi driver. But I'll be the first to admit we have to do some work. I have to do some work as a member of parliament at my end, because we have to have legislation that says that perpetrators and sexual assault offenders like Semple has to be known to his community. You got to know who you're living next to. This is a taxi driver who is exposed to women, right? And God knows, because I have an appreciation that there are instances when a woman might be raped, she might be so ashamed to come forward and to say she has been raped. So I have an appreciation for that. But like this Venezuelan woman, I hope that more women can be heartened and step forward and let their story be known to the authorities and those persons who are specialized to deal with these kinds of issues, so that this man can be brought to justice. Because at 32, I think the news report has, at 36 years old, This is not normal behavior. This is not normal behavior. And that is why I am asking on, the authorities to deal with this incident very differently, obviously, than the previous instances have been dealt with. This is not normal behavior at all, ladies and gentlemen, at all. Not normal behavior at all. And so we are following what is happening there. And I'm very concerned with the Guyana Police Force and the treatment of these very issues. Right? So this again is Mr. Thurston Semple, the alleged perpetrator in this brutality, sodomizing, and rape of the Venezuelan woman, who obviously her name was not given, and parts of her identity has been withheld, and you can have an appreciation why. Folks, I turn my attention now to the Guyana Police Force and some information that I saw published online, right, that alleges, some information that was published online that alleges that senior officers in the Guyana Police Force, sent a letter to the DPP calling for an investigation of corruption, fraud, and sexual misconduct by 2 acting deputy commissioners of police and senior superintendents. Folks, my heart bleeds. I'm not going to lie to you. My heart bleeds for the Guyana Police Force. It bleeds for the Guyana Police Force because it seems like on a daily basis, when you think that you can't hear anything more, right, of the decay of the Guyana Police Force, there is something else that comes out. My heart truly bleeds. I don't have a dog in the fight. My heart bleeds. Put away politics. Because not all of this is politics. Some is just organizational decay and decadence. And when I read the account of what was published today, and I'm picking this up via, let me see, I'm picking this up via, I think this was a Facebook story, a Facebook post by one of the journalists. When you read some accounts of it, of the allegations of financial misconduct, sexual misconduct, and otherwise, my heart bleeds to see officer fighting officer in this manner, right? To see this workplace politics being played out on a national scale. If this is what is happening among senior ranks, how can women in this country who are being sexually assaulted receive justice? If allegations made are true about sexual misconduct against police trainees, female police trainees, and female police officers, if there's any veracity to that, how can these same officers then turn and investigate men like Thurston Semple? Folks, you understand where we are? When $300 million is missing from the police force finances, this is not about shaming anybody. These are the allegations that are being made. Who watching the police in this country? When the police are supposed to be serving and protecting, watching over us. When I read some of this stuff, right? Point 2 in the missive says, there is an evil plot by political agents provocateur in the Guyana Police Force. And it goes on to name 2 officers who are trying to destroy certain officers in the GPF who stood in their way to potentially defraud the force of millions of dollars and block their promotion. Right? When I read some of this, not taking any sides, just looking at our police force, the Guyana Police Force, it belongs to all of us, guides. Honestly, my heart bleeds for this nonsense. Right? Bleeds for this nonsense. My little son the other day was saying that he wants to become a police. You think it's dice sending it? Right? A parent can say, son, dream another dream. Dream another dream. When you read the accounts of officers transferring other officers to remote locations because of vindictiveness and revenge and all of that, it's sickening. It is sickening when you read how Soko is being used politically and being trained not against the criminals, against officers of the Guyana police force. Your heart bleeds for what is transpiring in our country. Right? For what is transpiring in our country. And people were upset when David Granger made certain decisions. But we are living to see why those decisions are made. We are living to see why those decisions were made. My heart bleeds to see this kind of madness. It bleeds, folks, to see what is happening in the Guyana police force. It bleeds. Right? You cannot be proud of a police force that is operating in this manner. You cannot. Oh God. You cannot. Right? You cannot. This is madness. Right? Just now, any day you can wake up, based on what I read, and it's a civil war in the police force. Because it is bordering on that. Right? You understand why criminals operate with impunity and the thieves and the crime going up and all of that? Because there's no respect for law and order. You understand? Right? You understand why this Venezuelan woman can't get any justice, and all of the women who Thurston Semple have assaulted, allegedly, cannot get any justice? Because the members of the police force crying out for justice. Right? And Infant Ali wants to talk about, guardians of democracy. Right? Guardians of democracy. He wants to talk about that. Guardians of democracy. While today, 300 pounds of cocaine was found in containers being shipped to Jamaica. 11 tons of cocaine was shipped to Belgium. There was an inquiry into how the photographs were erased from the scanner at customs. You understand me? They said to this nation, Ben said to this nation, Robeson Ben, that thousands of photographs were found to have been deleted and they were recovered. The nation has not seen one photograph today, but 300 pounds of cocaine was found in containers that went to Jamaica. So who watching the customs agent who is supposed to be looking after the interests of Guyanese people? Who watching the police? How does $300 million go missing? And do the police fraud unit investigate the police? And do Soku, held by a policeman, investigate the police? This whole country is in free fall. You understand me? You know why? Because they put a puppet at the top. Guys, you better share the link. Don't only come on and view, share the live stream. The whole country in free fall. Right? The whole country in free fall because the police officers in this country know what obtains under the PPP. Nobody wants justice and rule of law. All of that is a stage show with no meaning. You scratch my back, I scratch your back. That is what the police force understand, that the PPPC back in government. And that is why you have this nonsense operating in the Guyana police force and is passing under the guise of serving and protecting who and whose interests. I am so disgusted by all of you, each and every one of you in the police force. It's a good night to all of you to this country except the Guyana police force. I am disgusted by each and every one of you, who we look up to in this country and depend on. But who the hell watching y'all? I am so disgusted by all of it. What the hell is happening in this country, man? This is the Guyana police force. If we cannot trust the police force to God, we should just privatize the whole damn thing. Privatize public security. Because who can you? This is the top leadership of the police force. We look up to you guys. But it seems to be that the more corrupt you are, you're a prime candidate for commissioner of police. And we lived through Henry Green. It seems the more corrupt you are, you could get commissioner of police faster. Yes, because we don't care how corrupt you are. What we care about is when we said jump, you can ask how high. That is what it seems to be. Right? Granger went after a different kind of commissioner of police. He said he wants a man who cannot be corrupted, who's unbribable. My God. And Ali thinks there's something to celebrate 1 year later and 6 months later. Give us a damn break. What needs to happen is an international independent investigation into the conduct of the Guyana police force. An international investigation. Nobody trusts the Ali government to investigate the Guyana police force. If this is how the Guyana police force is behaving among themselves, you understand why crime is the way crime is going? There's a lack of respect, a total breakdown. A total breakdown of law and order. Everyday cocaine shipping out. So today we learned, ladies and gentlemen, today in international news, that containers with over 300 pounds of cocaine from Guyana was busted in Jamaica. Yep. Today we learned that. All right? You know why? Because the police too busy. Police too busy fighting about every other thing under the sun than what they should be fighting for. Right? They are too busy fighting for everything else under the sun. And that is why you have the nonsense happening that is happening. Right? The tetanus, ladies and gentlemen. I am so tired and sickened by all of it. Tired and sickened by all of it. Right? Little children look up to the Guyana police force. I want to be a police. Right? I want to be a police. Right? It's only out of deep respect for the institution, not the people, that I'm not saying some things that are in my head tonight. Out of deep respect for the institution. Because if this is how our police are corrupt, read this report. If this is how our police are corrupt, what are you going to tell the criminal? What the hell are you going to tell the criminal? So we're in free fall as a nation. It was 11 tons of cocaine to Belgium. Now it's 300 pounds of cocaine. Right? And this not going to bother Ben, you know. This not going to bother Ben. This not going to bother the commissioner of police. This not going to bother nobody. 2 months going to pass and it can be some other issue. But it's bothering me and it's bothering us. And to God, we are just tired of the Guyana police force. I'm tired of them. Nobody can be proud of this Guyana police force as articulated in this missive here and all the other stuff we're seeing, promotions being blocked and what is illegal and who want the friend go forward and who want this body stay back and who trying to move this body out of the way so they can be commissioner of police and all of that. You can carry it to heaven with you? Eh? When all of us gone in the grave, we carry commissioner of police? We could carry that with us? It's utter nonsense. Ladies and gentlemen, it is nothing but utter nonsense and a disgrace to this nation. And Mr. Ali, if you have any semblance of a leader in you, you will stop puppeting yourself around this country and get down to business. And the first place you got to start, when you finish with your own party and this puppet show that you got operating here and stopping that, is going to the Guyana Police Force. Let that be the legacy that you leave this country. A reformed and professional police force. Oh, you say, oh, Granger, them didn't know what they were doing. Oh, well, you prove us different. Mr. President, what are you reading when the day come? If you're reading these reports and it's hurting you, that you are the head of the Guyana Police Force, reading through as president of this country. It's hurting you. It ain't hurting you to do something about this nonsense here. You understand me? It ain't hurting you. I will go with somebody totally new as Guyana, as the commissioner of police, or maybe go the way Trinidad go, import somebody. Because this here is nonsense and we ain't going nowhere. Me and care what fancy budget y'all got and what kind of flowery words y'all use to talk nonsense. Because the proof is in the pudding. And y'all ain't got nothing here. Y'all ain't got nothing here. You understand me? So stop all the fancy talk and all the nonsense. Right? Turn off the camera lights and head to work. Good? So I don't care what and who says what. This evening I'm saying, and you can tell I am mad as hell. It's a good evening to all except the Guyana Police Force. Except the Guyana Police Force. It is utter nonsense what you guys are doing. It's a shame. It's a disservice to this nation. What you guys are doing. And you got to pull yourself up. This is madness. This is madness. As I said, it seems to be police force is in a free fall. It's in a free fall. Forget everything I've said. How does $300 million go missing from the Guyana Police Force? That is $100 million or $1 million for every pound of cocaine that was shipped to Jamaica. $1 million for every pound. How does $300 million go missing from the police? And then when you add this nonsense and these allegations, my God, this will be a bestseller mystery. It will be a bestseller mystery. You understand why men move with impunity, cold-hearted, sick men like Thurston Semple and do all kinds of things to women? How many women Thurston Semple has damaged irreparably, God forbid, right? When the police force sitting around and saying, they ain't getting a man and woman story. They ain't getting a man and woman story and flinging the woman clothes back at her. Read the account. Read the account. To God. God knows why he does what he does. Right? Because I would have sent home the whole top leadership of the police force and start fresh. The whole top leadership, I would send home. None of them are deserving. None of them. I would send everybody home. You are the people, when neighbors fighting each other, they call the police to be the judicious and judicial interlocutor. Right? Well, y'all going to tell people if this is how y'all are behaving? What are you going to go and tell people? What are you going to go and tell people? And y'all talk all the fraud that y'all want to talk. Mr. Granger knew why he moved some people out of the way. He knew why. He knew why. Members of parliament were locked out of parliament by police. And then the commissioner talking all kinds of fancy, go around, come around nonsense. Huh? And Ali want to talk about order of democracy. Who the hell would you give order of policing to in that flipping police force? Huh? If you had an order of policing, who would you give it to? Democracy is not flourish speech and nonsense. Right? And clearly you flourish speech and getting traction with 10 likes and 1 share. So let us be real. If you had an order for policing, who would get it? Which of the Guyana Force top brass would get it? The order of policing. Who would you give it to? Hickins? Blanham? Jesus have mercy, man. Come on, police force. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on, folks. Come on. Come on. The nation is watching y'all and depending on y'all. Watching and depending. While y'all doing this nonsense among yourselves, who gonna be commissioner, who gonna be deputy, who get senior superintendent, and all of that. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Where Larry Lewis there now? Huh? We there now. He still is commissioner? He could carry to the grave? Huh? And where Henry Green there now? All the property he had, all the money and the property he had, where he there now? Everything is for season and a time. You understand me? Everything is for season and a time. Everything. I don't have anything more to say tonight. I ain't got one damn thing more to say. You understand me? I ain't got one other damn thing to say. That is why, this is why, folks, we can't find a boat with dead people with no engine, because that is characteristic of the Guyana Police Force. And they're just out to sea drifting right now. Drifting. Drifting. Right? They're drifting. Yep. Drifting. And the nation is along with them. And the government, they're right there too. In a boat with no engine, drifting. And we are the people looking for them. But we can't find them. 2 nautical miles per hour. That's how we'll be moving in this country. 2 nautical miles per hour. Drifting in a boat with no engine. We are the mercy of the wind and the elements. I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to say. But by the grace of God, we're going to survive all of this and hopefully come out stronger. Hopefully. Right? My heart's right with God. So whatever happens next happens. But what I know is that this status quo will not remain. That is what I know. It will not remain. It will not remain. And so, like the nurses in Linden, members of the public, you have to prepare yourselves to do what is necessary. Because it's only when the shoe on your foot, then you know where it's pinching. And it's pinching the police. It's pinching the nurses. It's pinching the vendors at Rossignol. It's pinching public servants. I spoke with some customs officer today. It's pinching them. Right? But you got to move beyond that. And I am inspired by the nurses. And I'm disappointed with the Guyana Police Force. Absolutely disappointed. Absolutely disappointed. And that is why I said to the women who may have been affected by Mr. Thurston Simple, I recommend Melissa Atwell. I know this is an area where she does a lot of work. I can't even say I recommend the Ghana Police Force. And that is the tragedy of all of this. I cannot even say I recommend the Ghana Police Force. That is the tragedy in all of this. We're going a far way and we're in a bad way. But it's not too late. It is not too late. Some of the officers in the Ghana Police Force, so don't even waste taxpayers' time and don't waste your own time. You should resign and take all the retirement and go off quietly. You make your money, go off quietly. You understand me? That's what you should do. Henry Green didn't want to move. God had to move him. Some of y'all should take early retirement and go off quietly and enjoy the rest of your days. You make your money. You make your money. And what a disgrace some of you are. What an absolute disgrace. And you all know yourself. And I am not fearing any of you. Any of you. Because you all are a disgrace. And the faster you acknowledge that and correct your action, the better. And don't go after people because they're pointing out your nonsense that you're doing, your foolishness. Folks, I have nothing more to add. A very good night to all. A very, very good night to all, except the Ghana Police Force.